like my process for when I hire is put out the application, figure out exactly the job description. You don't have to get too detailed because things are fluid. I know you're like a really detailed person that wants to have like every check box, like every box checked.
I get teased for that.
Just have like, here's what I'm looking for. Here's some tasks. Here's some potential tasks. And then put that out there. When you get resumes, I typically just ignore the resumes and I have a filtering process. So something like that would be like, hey, great, thanks for applying. Go through this process or answer these questions and record this video. Or if it's in person, do it in person. That has them answer other questions that may be related to your business, maybe not.
And here we go, guys.
Good thing. Most people say, damn, he's got a process.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Process.
Damn, he's got a process.
All right, guys, we're back with another episode of The Process. Today we have Mr. Baldeep with us. He's the owner of the Biz Not BS Group. If you haven't, please go check that out. It's an awesome resource for every entrepreneur, every business owner that's looking to grow and expand their business. Baldeep has owned over 5 businesses in his short lifetime. He's exited from 3 successful businesses, and he just has a ton of knowledge. And I'm really happy that he agreed to be here with us today. Don't let that gaming chair fool you. He's all about his business.
What's going on, David? How are you?
I'm doing well, my friend. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, no problem. Looking forward to it.
All right, so let's get into it. Let's talk about some of your business experience. I know you have a ton of value to share when it comes to actually building a business and how you structure it at the very beginning so that way you maximize your exit. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that, please, Baldeep?
Sure. So I come from a brick and mortar background. I've had multiple locations from New York to Texas, Pennsylvania, California, Florida. So that background, when you go from having businesses in your local area to expanding across the country, kind of makes you have to grow up quickly and figure out different things and how to run the business. So I've had other companies that relied on that grew through franchise sales. So I was responsible for selling franchises in a particular area that I purchased. And then other companies, right now I have the agency as well. So the agency is becoming the primary focus of my current businesses.
Awesome. So are you comfortable sharing with us? I know that brick and mortar business, you exited for some big numbers. It's all context. So are you comfortable sharing that story and sharing some of those numbers? Is that okay?
Not really. I'm not giving you my numbers.
Like ballpark figures here.
So I didn't sell them for the revenue. If that's so some of the businesses were at 3 million, another one was at 4 million. But when everything's all said and done, you don't walk away with that, right? Because there's debts you got to pay off. There's other things that have to happen in the process of the sale. Mm-hmm. So you don't walk away with the top line revenue of the number, whatever multiple you sell at, right?
Well, I remember a story that you shared with me in confidence. I'm going to put out publicly. You actually had a really good offer the first time around, right? And you actually missed out on that. So,
I mean, at one point I got offered to get purchased at 1 times revenue, which would have probably put at the time anywhere from 4 to 6 million in my pocket. And I didn't take it just because I didn't know what else I was going to do. And then after 2 years, everything changed. So, so definitely take the first offer that you're presented because it's usually the best. It's happened to me actually twice in another business as well. When I got offered to get purchased and I didn't take it just because when you're starting out and you're like in your first business, your first couple of business, you really don't know like, what other possibilities are out there. Hindsight being 2020, if I took that money, I would have invested into a lot of other things.
And I think that's a great, so you were really, I feel like as entrepreneurs, as business owners, we get really emotionally attached to our businesses. It's like kind of like our second or third child, right? And I know the best way to go about business is to not have that attachment. You want to make sure you're doing what's right for your family, for yourself. And that transitions us into the next topic, which is how to actually grow a business and not be self-employed. And when I say that, what I mean is that a lot of people, they think they own a business, but they don't. The business owns them. And Balls, I know you have expertise in this topic, my friend, so I'm gonna let you let it rip.
Okay. So the first thing, like when you get into business, there's that, you've seen like that iceberg analogy where like when you have a successful business, no one sees all the work that happens before that, right? So there's like a certain period of time, depending on the business model. Like in the business I was in prior, super seasonal. So, you know, you would only make money at a certain point, and then you have to wait for a whole year to get to that, to start making money again.
Yeah.
So that building phase took a lot longer, right? So I remember it was like 3 years before, like, you know, 3 years where you're making like maybe 10 or 15 grand out of it profit. You know, just, and then like taking the extra money that you get and reinvesting and acquiring and growing and scaling to get to that point. But there's that time period where you're just like owner operator, right? You're just like, okay, hey, I'm the owner, but I'm the owner operator. I'm doing everything. So like in the brick and mortar world, you know, like that one location, that's kind of where it is. And then, you know, 2 or 3 locations, if you have a partner or a key employee, you can put as management, you're still overseeing everything. But right when you go to like that jump of 5 or across the country, it's when like, hey, I can't go and show up that day to fix things.
Yeah.
Right? So you got to figure out, okay, not only do I have to find a team out there or a team to do it, but then you got to figure out how to support them at the home office, right? So some of the biggest challenges that you're going to see in that is hiring the right people and getting rid of the wrong people really quickly, and letting go, which is, you know, like your analogy, hey, it's your baby, letting go, and you have to watch it grow up. So a couple of things that you want to look for in the hiring process is you want to have a clear process to walk a prospective employee through, right? So what's that going to look like? Are you going to put out applications? Resumes are going to come in through whatever source you have. The problem with resumes is that most of the time you want to ignore them because people lie, right? So like my process for when I hire is put out the application, figure out exactly the job description. You don't have to get too detailed because things are fluid. I know you're like a really detailed person that wants to have like every check box, like every box checked.
I get teased for that.
Just have like, here's what I'm looking for. Here's some tasks. Here's some potential tasks. And then put that out there. When you get resumes, I typically just ignore the resumes and I have a filtering process. So something like that would be like, hey, great, thanks for applying. Go through this process or answer these questions and record this video, or if it's in person, do it in person. That has them answer other questions that may be related to your business, maybe not. So like some of the questions I ask is, hey, if a customer has an issue with XYZ product or whatever, you know, how would you handle it? Or talk about some times that you've had to, you know, suggest improvements or suggest things to previous employers. Like just kind of get an idea of how they would handle situations that could cause issues, situations that are maybe more stressful, right? Not necessarily that they're a big deal, but that may cause stress, just to see how they handle it. And if you want to go that extra step, you can require them to do a task, right? So in the brick and mortar world, one of the things I always looked for was people that can communicate well, that had outgoing personalities, and could type. Because I could teach them everything else, but they need to be able to type quickly. And if you could talk and type at the same time, that was a plus. So that was a task that we put in front of them was, hey, start doing this, and then talking to them while they do it. So if they could pass those things, then that would bring them into our internal training, right? Like, all right, now you're hired. Now you have to go through your training process. Another thing you want to
let me touch on that a little bit. So you're saying is that for the employee for the role that you're looking to fill, you already have mapped out the KPIs, the key performance indicators of what you're looking for. And that way on the interview process, you give them scenarios where you're saying, okay, is this the type of person that's going to problem solve and figure this out on their own? Or is this the type of person I'm going to have to hold their hand, take up my time, and now I'm paying someone for me to do the work anyway?
Yeah, so you don't have to have too detailed KPIs. You can it could just be simple scenarios, right? like, I know you like to make a lot of KPIs and things like that, but if you just go and say, hey, if I had, if I wanted to integrate Trello boards with this, but something's not working, how would you solve it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And the number one answer I'm looking for is like, I would go to Google and research it.
Basically, hey, I'll do the research and figure it out. But if it's somebody that knows, like, hey, you know what? This solution may not even be what you're looking to do. If you want to do something like that, then you may want to look at this. If they give me that answer, then I'm like, oh, okay, they're going to provide more valuable solutions to a problem than just telling them, than just doing what I dictate them to do, because I may not know everything that's going to work in that scenario. It's just based off what I know.
That's huge. That's
right?
huge.
So when you're looking for, like, I'm hiring somebody right now for a specific job in the agency side, and I'm hiring a contractor, I'm not hiring a full-time employee, but one of the things I'm looking for is that, hey, I only know what I know based off what I've read and what I know about, the specific task, but that's not my skill set.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So here's what I wanted to do. What can you provide as recommendations? And if they provide great recommendations, then they're going to get the job.
So what you're saying is that you look for people that have complementary skill sets to your own. So this way you're better in the business as a whole. You're trying to make like 1 + 1 instead of equaling 2. You're trying to make 1 + 1 = 3.
You could say that if you want to use that analogy.
So now you transition from the brick and mortar world into the digital world. What do you miss about it?
About the brick and mortar world?
Do you miss anything?
Not really. Not really.
Oh, man.
I mean, I have a car that I put no miles on because I don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah, nice car, by the way. But, yeah, so a lot of people don't know this about Baldeep. He makes like the best burgers, and this is kind of weird. I know, like I'm talking about another man's burgers, but it is really, really good. I got the privilege to be invited to one of his barbecues, and instead of blowing them off like I usually do, I actually showed up.
You asked me to come. You're like, yo, I'm gonna be there. Can I come to your house? I'm like, all right, here's the address.
Yeah, sure, Baldeep. But I was actually pleasantly surprised. Like he can actually, he has proof. He's gonna go back and find the text message.
I'm gonna go put you on blast.
Oh man!
All over social media.
Yeah. So let's get back on topic here. So, this is a man he's exited 3 businesses already. At a very young age, a lot of knowledge. So what do you look for when you enter into a new business or a new niche? Like, what are you looking for to make sure that you can actually perform well and be able to maximize that opportunity?
So are we switching from growing or to agency now?
Well, I figured we covered your past story. Now let's get into why'd you choose the digital advertising world, and when you chose it, like why do you choose a specific niche of people to make that like your exact what your company focuses on? Like what's the mindset behind that?
Okay. Yeah. So when I left the brick and mortar, it's kind of like, hey, what am I going to do? You look online, there's a lot of different opportunities out there. But my background in the brick and mortar, a lot of it had to do with getting people in the door. So I was like, okay, this makes sense. Let's help businesses get people in the door. And kind of just went from there. Obviously, you take courses, learn the techniques, the ins and outs of it, and then you just start selling. So one of the problems that a lot of people face is how do I pick an niche? How do I pick a niche, right? Like what's a good niche to go into? And I'm an advocate of you don't have to pick a niche initially, that it'll end up coming out of
ends up picking you.
Yeah, it ends up picking you. Like you're like, oh, you know what? The first thing any agency owner is gonna do is they're just gonna go and they're gonna see, oh, this person's starting this, so they're gonna try and get clients in every different direction. And like you yourself, how many times have you changed niches, right, in the past year, right? So like you're gonna take whatever comes until you're like, okay, here's a system that I have, now I can go sell this, right? It's essentially what's gonna happen. So if you already have the system, be it like LinkedIn or Facebook ads or whatever you're selling, now it's like, all right, well, how do I present it to the market?
Yeah.
But then another question that a lot of people, this is where a lot of people get stuck. It's like, what if I can't produce results? Right? So that's where a lot of people get stuck. They're like, what am I going to do? I just got this client. Like, you'll see it in Facebook groups. Oh, I just got a client that's a dentist. What do I do?
Yeah.
Like, come on, guys. Like, there's got to be a formula that you have to follow. And if your system is as good as you're selling it, then there's a way you could actually pre-validate it before you even go sell it. So we could talk about that.
Let me jump in here. So before we run any campaigns, like any new idea, any strategy that we come up with, or let's be honest, right? There's hardly anything new in this world. All we're doing is recycling ideas and put them in different places. I always test it on myself first. Like, we're privileged to have one of the best limousine companies in New York. A little plug there. But we'll try it out before we actually run it for our clients to make sure that, hey, this is what works, here's what's not working. So if you don't have that, try it on yourself. Like, a lot of the marketing today, especially digital, is you don't need a huge budget to kind of see results, right? You get a small result, then your job is to scale it. Balls, I know you have an interesting I know that when you go into a niche, you have some techniques and very smart. So I'm gonna let you talk about that.
Okay, so first, before we get into the techniques, how to identify the niche, right? So obviously you want to know if they're spending money on marketing, if that industry spends money on marketing, not necessarily the business right now. Do they have good case values of customers, right? Or is there, so it's going to depend, right? A plumber's going to have a lower case value. A cosmetic surgeon may have a higher case value. Volume and frequency is going to vary. So you got to look at some of those numbers. But anyway, essentially you want to know, hey, that niche, if it's medical, okay, hey, it's not all medical, it's maybe cosmetic surgeons, and hey, maybe you want to drill it down more, whatever you want to do. Most of the time I don't recommend drilling it down more until you have a system, but you just want to know those key things. Do they have customers? Do they advertise? Do you like them? Those are the things you want to know. So saying that, you go ahead and you pick one. Like, I like, say like your roofing, right? We'll pick roofing because I know you used to do roofing, right? So you're like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to work with roofing and siding people, right? So the first thing you want to do after you pick that industry, if you're like, hey, I'm going to go get clients, but I'm not comfortable selling clients because I don't know if I can get them any results. So you spin like you're spinning in circles trying to figure it out of if you should even do it. First thing I would do is go and research other ads and landing pages. So you can use tools like Bright Local Search. And I actually reached out to Jared today about something else. But you can use tools like Bright Local Search, which I've used, and I'd go and I'd type in, hey, roofing repair Phoenix, roofing repair. Like, you could pick your state that you want it to mask.
Yeah.
Now, like, I do like five or 10 of them, and now I get all the Google search results from that local area. So now you look at the AdWords results and you click open all of those AdWords results, and now you're looking at all these different landing pages for that industry. So now you're looking at, when you have these landing pages open, you can see the offers they're doing, what the verbiage, the lingo, the jargon, whatever you want to call it, that they're using for that industry. So you can learn a lot just by looking at other advertisements. Obviously, if you have local advertisements from them, you can see what the local people are doing too. So that's that first step. All right, what is the offer I'm going to put out there? What's common out of all of these? Then from there, I just go and create a fake Facebook page. And then I drive traffic to an advertisement that I modeled based off of what I saw. Mm-hmm. So if the roofing's like whatever, like free home roof inspection, whatever. If it's medical, hey, free screening or evaluation, or get this offer that you see, right? And then what happens is what I did and worked really well was I duplicated that in like 5 markets where I had ideal prospects and ran advertisements. As the leads came in, like all of a sudden, in like a few days, I started having leads. You call up local companies in that market and say, hey, I have a problem. I don't know if you could help me. This is what I did. Here's the results. I have these people that need help. Can you help them? And then convert that into an opportunity for a sale.
That is brilliant, Baldeep. I mean, it takes a little bit of risk because you're spending some money up front, but it does two major things there, right? It solves your problem of, can I get results? Yes, you can, because you're getting the leads, you're getting the results. And then 2, you're going to be able to get a client much faster, much easier if you're saying, rather than you go up to someone and say, hey, I'm going to do this for you, and when I'm going to pretend to do this for you, pay me first. You're going to say, hey, listen, I've already done this. Here it is, and now pay me. That's more powerful. It's a brilliant technique, and for all the digital marketers that are watching this, strongly recommend that you guys try it.
Yeah, that's like results in advance. Hey, I proved the concept. I know I can do it. And then if you're not comfortable selling it at $3 or $5 grand or whatever, you can actually spin it and say, hey, I'm actually starting a pilot program on this, and it'll be $2 grand a month.
Yeah. So Baldeep, you're the man. Thank you so much for being on here. And guys, we really appreciate it, and look out for the next episode. And as always, if you'd like to catch the SOP, the play-by-play map of Baldeep's strategy, just we'll have a link for that, and you just download that and enjoy, guys. So until next time, take care.